My neighbor was shouting for help outside the door, but I couldn't hear her from inside. I was just doing housework. Then a masked killer appeared and brutally murdered my neighbor. Even with all that noise outside, I still didn't turn around to check. The killer didn't understand what was going on, so he pounded his fist on the glass several times. After dealing with the body, the killer pushed open the door and snuck inside. At that moment, I was writing and completely unaware that someone was standing right behind me. That's when my best friend called me on video. I'm deaf and mute. I can only communicate through sign language. That's why I couldn't hear my neighbor's cries for help. The killer had already marked me as his next target, and while I was chatting, he even took my phone. After hanging up the video call, I picked up my laptop and continued working. Soon, a message on the screen made me realize something was wrong. The sender was actually my own phone. I clicked it open and saw several photos of myself that had been taken without my knowledge. I looked toward the front door and discovered the killer holding my phone with a smug look on his face. I quickly locked the door, which prevented a tragedy from happening. The killer didn't panic though. Instead, he grabbed his crossbow and searched for another way in. I tried to contact the police through my computer, but the killer beat me to it and destroyed the house's electrical box. My rescue plan had failed. I tried to communicate with him. I pulled out lipstick from my bag and wrote a few lines on the glass. Then, using a flashlight, I successfully lured the killer over. The glass read, "I didn't see your face. If you leave, I won't tell anyone about tonight." But then the killer just took off his mask. That meant he wasn't going to let me go. At that point, he started using my neighbor's body like a puppet, constantly banging it against the glass. Clearly, he had found me. Suddenly, I remembered that my neighbor had a habit of keeping her phone in her pocket, and her body was right by the window. Now I just needed to find a way to distract the killer so I could call the police. I took out my car keys from my bag and pressed the alarm button. The killer quickly walked toward the car, and I circled around to the back, trying to get my neighbor's phone. Unfortunately, the killer came back and saw me. What followed was a tug of war, but how could I possibly beat the killer in strength? Just as the window was about to be pried open, in desperation, I grabbed a hammer from the ground and smashed it at the killer. Then I quickly made my way to the second floor. After confirming it was safe, I climbed through the window onto the roof. I threw the flashlight hard toward the woods. The killer was quickly drawn to the light. Seeing my plan had worked, I quickly got up and ran in the opposite direction, but the moment I stepped on the ladder, a crossbow bolt hit my thigh. The killer, realizing he'd been tricked, had come back. To survive, I had no choice but to climb back up. At that moment, the killer shot another arrow. Seeing no movement on the roof, the killer climbed up the ladder, but I hadn't actually left. Now, it was time for me to fight back.